So, let's get things started, shall we?
I remember 2012. The world was supposed to end, but in its place it seemed like the open world craze was beginning to rise on the heels of Skyrim's overwhelming success. It was my first year in college, and during this time I was playing Skyrim non-stop on the buggy PS3 version, but it did not stop me. However, as with a lot of things, I hit my plateau with Skyrim, and I was looking for more. I wanted another game that could satisfy my open world RPG craze. At the time, I wanted to get Assassin's Creed Revelations, but even during the days when brand new AAA games were $50, I was still a broke college kid. Luckily enough, I had a well-off friend who bought a much overlooked game at the time called Dragon's Dogma for the sole reason of getting the Resident Evil 6 demo code. And yeah, I'm not even joking, and I kid you not when I say there were a lot of people at the time who bought this game for the sole purpose of acquiring a Resident Evil 6 demo code. It's wild to even think about it, but yeah, those were crazy times. Anyways, he told me about the game, but he had a hard time getting into it. But me, on the other hand, I was slightly intrigued, so I shot my shot and I offered him $15 for it. And to my surprise, he accepted, considering it would be a loss for him as he bought it brand new. I did not know what I was getting myself into. I expected a serviceable RPG that would be a placeholder for my Skyrim craze, and boy was I wrong, and here enters the dragon. Because this game, in my opinion, holds its own as its own unique RPG. This is going to be quite the hot take, but in my opinion, I love this game more than any of the Elder Scrolls game. The game has garnered a cult following, and I am happy to say that I am a member of this cult. So if you aren't with us,
Why aren't you?
I don't know what's gotten into me. I'm sorry about that. It must be a malfunction. So I kind of just want to talk about Dragon's Dogma days before the release of Dragon's Dogma 2, and I cannot believe I'm saying that. I've waited so long for this. Anyways, upon entering the game, this is the first thing you encounter. After seeing this, I immediately realized that this was going to be a grand adventure. I was ready to walk the mysterious lands of Grancis as the Mighty Arisen. Even though I was looking for a new open world to explore, to my surprise, it was actually the combat that kept me in. Now, during this time, I've played a bit of character action games like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry, which by the way is directed by Hideaki Itsuno, who also directed the first Dragon's Dogma game, as well as the upcoming release. Anyways, fantasy RPGs like Dragon Age and Elder Scrolls were my bread and butter. So never could I have imagined that high-octane, stylish action would fit in a fantasy RPG that's in an open world. I did not think that was possible during the time. I was in absolute shock, but in the best way possible. The tutorial boss alone had me on the edge of my seat. The combat was wild as I was going toe-to-toe with this gargantuan being. It was fluid yet punchy, fast-paced, and precise. It was simply badass, and this game does a great job of making you feel like it too. Fights were intense. It felt like an all-out brawl. Boss fights were magnificent as you weave and dodge through massive attacks and then climb on its back to find its weak points. And when you think you have the upper hand as you're close to triumph against your mark, much like a cornered animal, the boss suddenly goes berserk. Combat in this game is simply adrenaline-inducing. You can quite literally go ham with your blade, use your magic abilities, or shoot enemies from afar. Your choice of violence is endless, and I was simply blown away. Character creation is something I also look for in a game. I'm the type who can spend hours on the character creation screen alone, and I could say Dragon's Dogma does a good job of giving you options for character variety during your playthroughs, and I'm so glad that they are expanding on this with Dragon's Dogma 2. There is also a class system called vocations that give you many options to play with as you mix and match skills to create your perfect build in order to become the arisen badass you strive to be. Now, the storytelling can be a bit janky, but it does a good enough job to augment the gameplay. It is a Japanese game, so there are some strange quirks, but nothing immersion breaking. And in my opinion, some of these quirks were quite charming, and honestly, I hope we get to see more of these same silly quirks in the second game. I also remember one of the complaints during this time was about fast travel being a bit complicated. But to me, it actually created gameplay moments that stuck with me and made my experience even better. Now, I remember in an early playthrough, I was traveling back to Grand Soren and nightfall was approaching. I was unprepared, it was dark, my light source was almost gone with no oil to spare, and to make matters worse, I was low on health with no healing items. During the night, monsters became stronger and they were out for blood. I was ambushed, so I had to fight through the dark, swinging wildly, sometimes not knowing what I was hitting. But by the grit of my teeth, I somehow survived and made it within the city walls. These are some of the gameplay moments that could happen organically in Dragon's Dogma, and I could name many more throughout my countless playthroughs. This game just has so much heart and character, I freaking love it. You can get immersed in the combat gameplay loop alone. And speaking of fast travel, this is what Itsuno had to say about open world design for Dragon's Dogma 2, and I quote, "Travel is boring. That is not true," Itsuno said. "It's only an issue because your game is boring. All you have to do is make travel fun." What a freaking mic drop. I can't wait to be ambushed by skeletons again when I have no life starting March 22nd. I also want to talk about the endgame without really spoiling anything. Here you can spend hours and hours hacking and slashing, pummeling and smashing different types of enemies as you grind for loot. And it's crazy because this is just scratching the surface as I'm only talking about the base game. The Dark Arisen expansion keeps the fight going and adds hours and hours more to the gameplay. I haven't even mentioned that there is a New Game Plus as well, so you definitely get your money's worth in terms of content. So if you haven't played this game yet, what are you doing? I say try it out. Now, the game is usually about $30 with the Dark Arisen expansion already included, and this is for both PC and consoles, but I believe right now it's only like $5 on Steam until March 21st. So you have no excuse. Just buy it, give it a try. And what a better opportunity to start playing this game while we get hyped for Dragon's Dogma 2, which is literally around the corner. I cannot believe we're getting Dragon's Dogma 2. I've literally waited 12 years for this. It's crazy. But anyways, enough of my rambling. I do want to hear what you guys think. Leave a comment down below about your experiences with Dragon's Dogma. Is it good? Is it bad? Are you in the middle? And are you excited for Dragon's Dogma 2? Let me know. Anyways, I do want to start making more videos, so if you guys enjoy this, just please leave a like, subscribe, anything. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a good one.